It's 1970, December, right? Turn of the century. And a school out in West Massachusetts called Barton Academy, a fictional private school, is not a real place, is closing up for the holiday. And a few students are left to stay over the holiday at the private school because parents are out on vacation or whatever, can't take them. These bummed out students are left at the academy with a cranky old history teacher played by Paul Giamatti. Mr. Hunnam is his name, or Walleye, as they call him at the school, because Paul Giamatti's Mr. Hunnam has a glass eye? I think it's a glass
Lazy
eye.
eye.
A lazy eye. Yeah, a lazy eye or glass eye. I was looking at interviews after the movie, and people seemed a little disputed, but I'm going to say lazy eye. He smells kind of funny. His hands are overly moist. Mr. Walleye is the crankiest teacher at Barton Academy, and through one series of events or another, ultimately most of the kids at school leave, all except for one, played by newcomer Dominic Sessa, who plays Angus, this young, frustrated student who's stuck at Barton over the holiday with his least favorite teacher, along with one very charming cook, Mary, played by Divine Joy Randolph. The three of them make an untimely holiday trio who spend time together for 2 weeks while everybody's gone from Barton Academy. And what looks like a charming, nostalgic, cozy feature ends up being something that is surprisingly more. And coming from the director of Sideways and The Descendants, I don't think this is a big surprise. I'm not super familiar with Alexander Payne's work before this feature, but I've at least heard of those films and the acclaim around them. So I'm very excited to talk about The Holdovers. Andy, what did you think?
So I was a little surprised by this. I mean, I was looking forward to it. It looked funny. I like Paul Giamatti. But I was really stunned by this. I've been telling people, like, this might be a new Christmas classic. It might be a new kind of Christmas film that you watch every year. Alexander Payne he's most known, I think, for Sideways, which came out almost 20 years ago, which also starred Paul Giamatti. He's also done The Descendants with George Clooney, Election from 1999. So he hasn't done a ton of films, but the ones he's done are well known, and the people in his films have also gone on to win Oscars or been Oscar nominated. So he definitely knows what he's doing behind the camera. But this was really touching. It's really heartwarming, but also it's about very serious issues. It touches on issues. It's right in 1970, so it's in the middle of the Vietnam War, and it touches on issues of class and race, and just personal turmoil between all our characters. Divine Joy Randolph plays the kind of lunch lady person in charge of the cafeteria, and her son has been recently killed in the Vietnam War, and he was able to attend this prestigious school, but he wasn't really but they weren't able to afford college, and that's why he joined the war. And so this is kind of overshadowing her character, but there's this kind of buried grief affecting everyone, which is one of the things the movie is about. But it's a lot of fun, a lot of really funny scenes, because you have this kind of generational divide. You have Paul Giamatti's character, who's a middle-aged, single, depressed teacher, and then you have these young, not quite college-age students who are acting the way teenage boys do. I thought this was really, really charming. It's not perfect. It's got some issues, but I was really surprised.
Yeah, so I think where I want to start to talk about this is our setting, and then I want to quickly move into characters, because our trio are very interesting and nuanced, and each have their own motivations and means. But before I get into that, I want to talk about part of the reason I think this film feels what people would describe as cozy. It's funny, I was looking at an interview before we started the show here, and Alexander Payne has gone on record saying he hates that people call this movie cozy. He's like, what does that even mean? That's not even a real thing. But like, I think it's what this movie feels like for a couple of reasons. One, because it's all shot on location. Not a single soundstage shot is in this film, which I did not know. They shot it all out in a school in West Massachusetts, I think. Like I said, Barton is fictional. I don't remember the exact name of the school where they shot it. Number two, it was a quick shoot, and it's all digital. They all shot it on a small RE camera, and then they added all the film grain, pop in everything in post to make it look like it's shot on film, and implicitly like to lean into the feeling that this is a film that came out in 1970. The fonts used in it are all era appropriate. The film opens with like the MPAA logo from like films from the 1970s. Like it leans all the way in. Even the trailer like is this old school kind of looking trailer, so it feels nostalgic. Like on its face, The Holdovers feels like a film from the past. And then, like, the thing that I think makes it work so good as a Christmas movie, outside of just its holiday trappings, of course, because it takes place over the holiday and our characters are directly motivated by a holiday happening, is these, like, unique problems of character. Our three characters, Mr. Hunnam, Mary, the chef, and Angus, the student, are all so different. And they all have wildly different problems. And just like any good holiday romp, like having a bunch of people who come from different corners of society come together and have to overcome their adversities, like to ultimately enjoy life and enjoy spending time with one another through what should be a special time, is like a uniquely holiday thing, right? Like, and I think that's really special. Paul Giamatti's character, Mr. Hunnam or Mr. Walleye, is like so grumpy and cranky and intellectual. Like he's such a smart guy because he's had tenure and he's been at this school all this time, but he's also like wildly small inside, right? And naturally insecure about the things that students roast him for. Mary, the chef, she is an overweight black woman in a school full of thin white dudes. Like, and on top of issues of class that are presented by private school students who have a ton of money and are going to school and are going to have their whole life set up for them. She's lost a son and is actively grieving that at the school where he went and she works, like the very same setting. And of course, Angus is left at the school over the holiday, and he's the only kid who can't get out of it. And his mom doesn't really care. And she's like, honey, it's fine. I'll send you some money for Christmas. Like it's just painful, right? On top of problems with his father. Like, I think the three of them ending up spending time together is really kind of perfect because none of them can solve each other's problems. And like none of them can really understand each other. But what they can do is understand the situation they're in and learn to like respect each other for it. And you end up getting like this, you know, surprisingly effective script, real bouncy, lots of comedy, very sarcastic. I don't know. You get something uniquely special.
Yeah. This unlikely trio works so well together. Dominic, we learn it has been, sorry, that's not his name. Angus has been kicked out of several schools already, and if he gets kicked out of this one, he's going to be sent to a military academy. So he's kind of on the brink. Paul Giamatti's character is brilliant, but is also just not aware of the world. His dean is like, you got to stop failing these really rich kids that donate to, you know, his father's a senator and can help us keep our doors open if maybe you don't fail him. And he kind of just sticks to his guns and say, no, you know, he doesn't deserve to pass. I'm not going to give him. So he kind of refuses to understand the way the world works. Of course, Divine Joy Randolph's character, Mary, is grieving the loss of a son. So we have like these kind of deep, troubled people that find family and solace together. Found family is definitely a theme of the movie.
Yes. I want to talk about how funny this movie is. Like I know I said bouncy script, it's funny, but like really this movie is a real laugh. Like whether it be subtle digs at one another, right? Like a student throwing a line at his teacher when he's not paying attention, or Paul Giamatti like rolling his eyes at like something Angus has done, or something maybe explosive, Angus acting out of anger, right? The problem student running into the gym and jumping off a trampoline into the unfinished floor. Like you get a lot of really great moments, and I can't explain why it works so well. I think it's good pacing. Genuine setting. Like I said, it's all shot on location, and great character work from Paul Giamatti, who plays it like it's Shakespeare, and Dominic Sessa, who is a newcomer as Angus. This is his only on-screen role, and I can't believe it. All he's done is stage plays. This kid immediately needs more work. Like we need to get him in a Wes Anderson picture. We need to get him in something more special. And speaking of Wes Anderson, I should say that I've noticed a couple reviewers relating this to early Anderson work, something like Royal Tenenbaums, right? Like not quite as like linear and not linear, but symmetrical as like Anderson's cinematography, but certainly relatable in the way that it's full of kind of warm colors and a cold season and kind of a time where people, I think, long to go again. And Alexander Payne, like it or not, like manages to thread that needle in one way or another to take us to a place where I think we all kind of wish we'd rather be sometimes. Also, fantastic soundtrack. Soundtrack's on Spotify. You should totally go check it out. A lot of old hits, a lot of good stuff. Great soundtrack. Andy, I worry I'm talking in circles. What do you think? What else you got?
Well, yeah, I wanted to talk about our cast. Paul Giamatti, like, he could not make a bad role. And I was listening to an interview with Alexander Payne. When he started out making movies and he was playing the Hollywood game, he said, once you got above a certain budget, you had to get a star. You couldn't just, like, get a good actor. You had to get someone who was going to help, a name who would help sell the movie. I learned that in Sideways was the first movie where he was able to choose who he really wanted, which was Paul Giamatti. But apparently Brad Pitt and Edward Norton both read for that role, which is incredible because it's kind of about similar to this. Is about kind of a middle-aged loser, and I was like, you're not going to sell Brad Pitt as a middle-aged loser. But it's been
that
difficult.
Ed Norton, though. I mean,
yeah, he's got too much. Yeah, he would do better, but still too much. Yeah.
This is the worst Ed Norton dig I've ever heard on this show. You were like, well, Brad Pitt couldn't be a loser. But anyway,
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Alexander Payne is very particular about casting. And he said it can be difficult to get who you really want because of playing the Hollywood game. And that's become easier over the years. But, I mean, Paul Giamatti is just pitch perfect. It's like he rolled out of bed to play this role. Dominic Sessa is like, where did they find this kid? Because it seems like I would have thought he'd been acting on TV since he was 5. Really solid. He's gonna get more work. And Divine Joy Randolph, who I actually recently saw in the HBO's The Idol, the character in there. She's more of I think she does stand-up comedy. She's more of a comedic person, but does an incredible turn in a much more serious role. This movie might be described as a dramedy, some people would say, but it's charming and heartwarming, but it's got some really difficult moments. Not depressing, but just really tapping into the difficulties of the human experience.
Yeah, one of these you'll laugh, you'll cry kind of features, right? Like and I think I should have put myself together better when I said it's like her Lewis Anderson. It's emotionally disarming. Like you're enjoying it, and then, oh, by the way, here's a big tug at your heartstrings you didn't expect. Like, and that stuff I think is what stands the test of time. I can say confidently I'm definitely gonna make people watch this with me next holiday for sure. I don't even know if it might be available like VOD this holiday, and I'll probably watch it again.
Be streaming. Yeah.
It'll be
streaming.
Like, I don't know where
by
it'll go.
Christmas.
Yeah, but like I will probably end up paying again to watch this movie. I will say it's a little too long. That's the one I think real critique I've got of it. It's 2 hours 13 minutes. You probably could have tightened it up to 105, but like it's fine. Like I think it gets us over the line just fine. If anything, too much of a good thing is never a bad thing, right? Like overall, I need to probably watch more Alexander Payne movies. I need to go back and visit Sideways. I still can't believe I haven't seen that film. But any other thoughts or recommendations?
Real quick, so when Sideways came out, Sideways is a small Oscar film, went on to make like $350 million. And again, the studio was like, you got to get a bigger name, and then that movie stars Paul Giamatti,
and Thomas Hayden Church, right? They're wine guys,
right? Thomas Hayden Church, Virginia Madsen. Like it is a small cast of character actors, not big names, and that went on to be a huge hit. Actually, affected Merlot sales. There's a crazy story behind that, but that is a classic film, and Alexander Payne's made another one. And I am ready for recommendations.
Andy, would you recommend The Holdovers?
Absolutely. It's really surprised me. One of the best movies of the year. Great performances. It's a great Christmas movie. It's funny. It has some really serious moments. Like I said, taps into social issues about class and race. It is a little bit too long. It could probably be 10, 15 minutes shorter. But really enjoyed it. Highly recommend.
Same. Holdovers is rock solid. I think it's a new holiday classic. Like, and I know we talk about big cinema on this show a lot, but like really, I think even if you're not into big indie cinema, this movie is really cool. It is slow. I will admit, if your friends want to watch Rudolph and you're like, no, let's watch The Holdovers. Tonally, you're probably off the mark. It's probably not what they're looking for. But like, dude, I can't wait to really get cozy on the couch under like a big fuzzy blanket or like a cup of hot chocolate or a cup of coffee and watch The Holdovers. Like, I'm going to make people I love in my life watch it, and they're going to tell me it's too weird of a movie, but it's not. It's a really cool feature, and I think it's great, and you should totally check out The Holdovers. I wish we could have talked about it sooner. God, The Holdovers is neat, man. I'm really excited to watch it again. So keep an eye out on the top 10 of the year list. I think you might see The Holdovers come up again, for me at least, possibly Andy too. But that's Off Script episode 233. Good Lord, Andy, another long one. These mini reviews are killing us. But I think they're important, and I want to keep doing them. But man, like I also want to keep the show under an hour, and we end up running over every week. What are we watching next week?
So a ton of releases this week that are all actually coming out on Wednesday. Because of the Thanksgiving holiday long weekend. We are going to be taking a look at Ridley Scott's Napoleon, his big epic biopic starring Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby, nearly 3 hours long. So that's the big one. And then we're going to be doing a 180 and taking a look at some small cinema at the specialty box office, Emerald Fennell's Saltburn, which also opens tomorrow, starring Jacob Elordi and Barry Keoghan. We don't really know what this movie is about. Like it's all we know is Barry Keoghan's character goes to live at Saltburn with aristocrats that he doesn't really fit in with, and that's all we really know. Also opening, if you're interested this weekend, is Disney's Wish, their animated feature, and Nicolas Cage's Dream Scenario. We'll see what comes out on top over the weekend. It's going to be crowded.
There's so much going on at the box. There's too many movies coming out this week. It baffles me that like a new Nick Cage feature is coming out. I'm pretty sure from A24, and we're not just immediately seeing it, but there's too much other stuff to go cover. Like I think, I don't know. I hope, we were talking about this before the show. You don't think Napoleon's going to do well. I hope it does well, but I also am thinking it's tracking to lose money for sure.
So I was looking at tickets, and it's playing at IMAX. And on Monday, I looked at IMAX tickets for the Wednesday evening showing at 6 p.m. No tickets bought.
So
I'm already thinking of my puns, like Napoleon defeated at the box office. Saltburn, salt bombs. Like
Napoleon won't. Yeah, right. Salt bombs. I was going to tell you same thing. I bought my Napoleon tickets real early. My pop's not going to go see it when I'm in town over the holiday here, and we're going to go see it Friday after it comes out. And I bought it at a IMAX screen, like full IMAX in the town where they live, with laser IMAX. And I was like, I want to go see it on big screen. It's Ridley Scott's Sword and Sandal. I want to do it big, and I'm excited. And you told me that you thought tickets had been undersold to your theater Thursday night. So I checked my Friday night, 7 p.m. IMAX screening. Dude, there's like 6 more tickets sold in that theater. I'm like, oh no. Like, I think it might be a dud. And it's just like Killers of the Flower Moon, let's be clear, Apple is not out to make big bucks at the box office. They're there to pull you to their platform. And in that way, they are expecting these numbers. I don't think they're at all surprised by it. But they did spend $200 million on Napoleon, so I hope it turns out to be something big. Also excited about Saltburn. And I think Christine and I are going to go see Wish here in the next couple of weeks. If we do, we'll do a mini review on the show for sure.